Hello world, it's June 10th, 2026, and here's what happened this week in PHP internals. The big one first, generics. Seferdine Gomati's bound erase generics RFC has been the threat of the month. Generics where the type parameters erase at runtime and enforcement is left to static analyzers like PHPStan and SOM. This week, Rob Landers crashed the conversation with working code. He spent a week building reified generics, actually checked at runtime, on top of Seferdine's own branch. But first, the footgun he found in erasure. Picture two catch blocks. Catch HTTP error not found, then catch HTTP error forbidden. With erasure, both become plain HTTP error at runtime. The second catch is dead code, no warning, no error. It just never runs. Now his numbers. Zero cost if you don't use generics. A single generic call, a method call, costs up to about 2x a plain call. For something closer to real life, he took PSL, the PHP standard library, which Seferdine himself maintains, converted it to generics, and ran its benchmark suite. Result, 1.3 to 1.5 times slower than the original, and the original does no checking at all of types. That's per operation overhead in tight library code, not your page load, which is mostly database and I/O anyway. And here's the kicker. Against code doing manual isn't checks on mixed, generics cost roughly the same. His argument, if checked generics cost the same as a manual checks we all write anyway, why ship erased ones? Frederick Bosch floated a compromise. Reified in dev and CI, erased in production for speed. Rob's answer, erased generics don't prevent typos, they don't enforce correctness. It seems unreasonable to take a step backwards for speed. And overnight, this one escalated. Larry Garfield weighed in. PHP cannot do certain things nicely without generics. And on the reified add-on, I think we may have finally found our way forward, and I'm willing to eat some performance for that. But Ilya Tovillo pushed back on the engine side. Monomorphizing classes risks the memory blowups Nikita Popov warned about back in 2020. The type inference behaves inconsistently, and he found crashes in the branch. Sefedine's position, land erase generics first, evaluate reified as an opt-in later, because that 30 to 50% cost compounds through your whole dependency graph. Still no vote, but this is the most generics traction PHP has had in years, and the heavyweights are now all at the table. Story 2. The PHP tag itself went on trial. Hendrik Menen's pre-RFC proposed .phpc files, the C is for code, where the file is pure PHP from byte 1, no opening PHP tag required. His argument, that tag exists because PHP started life in 1995 as an HTML templating engine. In a file full of strict types and enums that never touches HTML, it's what he called pure ceremony. Boilerplate you type because the language demands it, not because it means anything. This week, the thread finished collapsing. Derek Reethans called the idea a lot of complexity for dubious benefit. Kasper Langmeier pointed out every autoloader would eat an extra stat call checking 2 extensions. By Monday, even the thread's most active defender, Alex Rock, conceded the extension change only brings disadvantages. So Rock pivoted. Monday, he proposed 2-step modules. Step 1, declare def equals 1 files. Pure declarations, 0 side effects, guaranteed at compile time. Step 2, declare module equals 1, adding import and export keywords, compile time resolution, tree shaking, a reflection module class. He already has a proof of concept PR for step 1. Reception so far, chilly. Rowan Tommins called it trying to wedge JavaScript solution into PHP, and Michael Morris asked the question every proposal eventually faces, what problem are you actually solving? Rock's answer, full code isolation. Hash prefixed internals would let 2 versions of the same library coexist, the WordPress plugin conflict problem. Then it escalated. Larry Garfield on module equals file. There is no way in hell that I'm moving dozens of classes into a single file. Let's stop trying to make module equals file happen. It's not going to happen. Rock's response this morning, unveil step 3. Packages modeled on Rust crates with package level visibility. Rowan's counter, you could get namespace internal classes with 1 keyword. There is no step 2. And pointing at Guzzle's 43 files, multi-file packages aren't a stretch goal. They're the only plausible starting point. This thread is very much alive. Story 3, and the busiest thread on the entire list. GoKudo's opcache static cache. The idea, a shared memory data cache managed by opcache itself. 2 flavors, volatile and pinned. Think APCU but built in. Kudo announced voting could open as early as June 4th. It didn't. Instead, the week blew the RFC open. The API got completely rewritten. 27 functions collapsed into two classes, volatile cache and pinned cache. Purple partitioning landed to answer Jacob Zelenka's security objections about shared hosting. Then Larry Garfield drew a line. I will absolutely vote against this proposal if it ships with static methods as the API, no matter what else it contains. Nicholas Grekas is pushing to strip it down to an MVP. He's unconvinced pinned caching is even needed when FrankenPHP workers exist. Jacob says that he has no review time until October, calling 8.6 a bit too optimistic. And by this morning, Larry was musing whether the whole space just collapsed to this RFC or FrankenPHP. Kudo's answer, yes, essentially this is the bridge for traditional deployments. But there was a human moment in there too. Alexandru Patanescu gently flagged that Kudo's replies read like LLM-generated walls of text. Kudo owned it and offered to step away from the RFC entirely. The list talked him down. They want the feature, just with shorter emails. Something to appreciate about this community. One more, because the first time I saw this RFC name, I had no idea what it meant. Friends. Daniel Scherzer wants PHP classes to be able to declare friends, a literal friend keyword, right in the class body, naming another class. A friend gets access to your protected members, same access a child class would have, but without having to extend you. The classic use case, a factory. Your user class has a protected constructor because users should only ever come from one trusted source. Declare that factory a friend, and it can call that constructor directly. No reflection hacks, no internal doc block, and no crossed fingers. The week's development, Friends originally got private access too, but after pushback from Rob Landers and Larry Garfield, it's been scaled back to protected only. That counts as a major change, so the RFC restarts its 14-day cooldown. Friendship is not mutual, not transitive, and not inherited, which is also just good life advice. Closer to home for anyone who lives in the terminal, Pratik Bujel's native terminal helpers. Derek Reethans reviewed the API earlier this month, a terminal class and a terminal namespace, plus enums, and by Saturday, Bujel had shipped 0.4.1, implementing the entire reviewed design. The open question, he's asking the list, keep hardening this as a PECL extension or aim for core. If you've ever fought raw mode and ANSI escapes in PHP by hand, this is one to root for. On the process side, Ben Ramsey's Working Groups RFC, formalizing small teams with delegated authority over specific areas, so not everything needs a full debate. Larry Garfield is strongly in favor. Tim Dusterhus is skeptical. Policy changes should just be pull requests to the policies repo, and the RFC process already covers the few teams PHP actually needs. Governance isn't glamorous, but this one shapes how every future RFC gets decided. Housekeeping. PHP 8.4.22 and 8.5.7 dropped Thursday. Bug fix releases, nothing scary, upgrade when convenient. Voting opened on well-induced locale RFC, get display keyword and get display keyword value, filling a small ICU gap in the internationalization extension, targeting 8.6, 6-0 in favor, vote runs through June 23rd. Two more from Nicholas Grekas just this morning. The __ exists RFC opens for voting Sunday, and a brand new RFC, serializable closures from constant expressions. The problem it fixes, those nice closures PHP 8.5 lets you put in attributes and property defaults can't be serialized, which silently breaks every serialized-based metadata cache. Fresh thread, watch it develop. Quick hits. The vote to remove x.com links from php.net failed to hit 2/3, so the link stays. And when Paul Jones asked who actually controls the official PHP account on X, nobody answered. Mark that one unresolved. A thread questioning whether disable functions is a real security boundary resolved itself in 25 minutes. The warning already exists in English docs, it's just missing from translations. Daniel Scherzer announced he'd open voting on reflection attribute getCurrent, and immediately caught fresh objections, with Benjamin Auenhofer preferring an interface over a magic static method. No vote yet. And Stephen Wilton asked a simple question. His SNMP module RFC passed, so what happens now? The list answer a week on, silence. Someone please go help him. That's the week. Links to every thread are below, externals.io if you want the raw feed. We're Artisan Build. See you next week.